The M is smart, measurable.
Hmm.
Let's talk about measurable versus meaningful.
Okay.
But when you're talking about your own goals, whether it's personal or professional, how can someone create a goal that is subjective and emotional, like feeling more peaceful, right?
Hmm.
How can they create that goal without losing the structure that's needed to get there, that measurability that they need to actually make it
Right.
happen, right? How can they do
I
that?
gotcha. Yeah. So I've been working in EAP employee assistance programs, been over 10 years. It's been a while. So a lot of our work is helping folks to develop their goals. So we ask them very broadly, what do you like, what do you want out of this? What are your expected outcomes? So it could be something like, oh, I just want to be happy. Okay, what does that look like? So it's having to guide towards that. So if it's wanting to have more peace, tell you about my husband, what he does. So
Okay.
one way he finds peace, he's the first one up in the morning. It's quiet, comes downstairs, has his cup of coffee, sits in his recliner, has his feet up, watches ESPN, and he'll do that. And that's his peace. And if he aims to do that X number of times a week for a certain amount of, length of time, that's measurable. Those
Okay.
are metrics. If it's for me, your girl vitamin D is low, okay? So for me, if it means I need to go outside, let the sun shine on me for 10 minutes a day, that's peace for me.
Yeah.
So there is a way that you can actually set those metrics and make it measurable, but you have to actually have a picture of what that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So whatever you're aiming for, that's kind of more abstract,
Hmm.
emotional, right? Okay. I want peaceful. Well, what does peace look like for you? What does
Yeah,
that mean for you? Let's name some specific things that represent that in your life.
right.
And then we can figure out the measurable is how can you incorporate those things?
Hmm.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a good way to sum it up, Jonathan.
All right. All right. Um, what else we got? We got T in the smart time bound.
Hmm.
Um, so that tension of having deadlines
Hmm.
can be a little tense, can cause a little bit of anxiety, Mrs. EAP. Talk
Hmm.
about employee assistance over there. Um, so how do you balance that, right? Having deadlines and timelines to make sure you don't spin your wheels in place, but
Hmm.
also making sure you don't drive yourself crazy with the tension and the pressure of achieving an objective by a certain timeline.
Yeah, right. I mean, you want to set lines that are realistic, but then also sometimes just that anxiety that may come from, having a certain deadline that's coming up, you may not need to change the timeline. Maybe it's the actual step, the task that it is. Like, you know what? Instead of accomplishing all of this, maybe by this deadline, I'll accomplish this much of it. Um, and I mean, the anxiety that for me, what I think is that, hey, that means you care. Okay.
Okay.
If you didn't care at all about reaching this goal or accomplishing whatever it is that you have due at a certain time, then you just lollygag through it.
Okay.
But actually sitting with that emotion for a bit, that anxiety, um, tapping into your own coping mechanisms that you use, whether it's, going for a walk, talking to a friend, using some of those more practical strategies to
Okay.
help manage that anxiety. But again, that doesn't mean that you have to change your entire timeline.
And
Sometimes it's just inevitable that
yeah.
anxiety is going to be there.
And maybe, yeah. I mean, especially when you're talking about in a professional environment, talking
Hmm.
about work like deadlines that are imposed upon you versus your own
Yeah.
deadlines. Um, Sometimes those are firm and
Hmm.
and there's no way around those. And we just have to figure out a way to make things happen.
That's what, yeah, I mean, that's when you're prioritizing too.
Yeah.
So you're at work and you have lots of things that are due. So one thing that I think about, which is again, speaking of my husband, something he talks about are those glass balls and those rubber balls,
Mm-hmm.
which are the ones that if they drop, they're going to break. Like you got to prioritize those as opposed to those rubber ones. They're bouncy. They'll come back.
Okay.
So yeah, you have to prioritize those.
Yeah. True, true. Um, what's your approach to prioritizing and deciding? I heard the glass balls and rubber ball.
Hmm.
Um, that's part of it. Are there
Right.
any other tips or strategies you use to decide what's priority and what's not?
I have to go to bed at night, close my eyes, and be able to relax so I can drift off into my slumber and rejuvenate my brain, rest so that I can gear up for the next day. If there's
Okay.
anything that's going to hinder that, that's going to make me lose sleep, those will be the things that I'm going to tackle.
Okay.
Um, I'm also a humanist, so I always constantly thinking about other people, how it may impact them. And I'm not talking about in one of those more superficial ways of, oh, if I don't get this done, then so and so is going to be mad at me. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But from a team perspective, if I'm a part of a team and we're working on a joint project and me not pulling my weight is something that's going to hold somebody else back,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be I'm prioritizing as well.
Okay.
And again, I'm just speaking for myself, and I think it just comes back still to just how I'm feeling about it. It's
Yeah.
not so much externally and what
Yeah.
other people are telling me is important and what I need to do, but how I'm feeling about um, the task.
So what I'm hearing you saying is values. Make
Yeah.
sure that you align with your value system is
Hmm.
a great way to prioritize as well.
That's what
Uh,
drives me. Absolutely.
okay. Yeah, I can tell that. So
Hmm.
that's important, and that's easy to lose track of, especially like when you have goals that are demands of people
Hmm.
outside of you, right?
Right.
How do you balance those with your own personal goals that are aligned with your values, and how do you prioritize between it? It can be tough.
Hmm.
For example, prioritizing your health and
Yeah.
well-being, like which is in your area of expertise. When you're at the office and the demands of work can sometimes conflict with that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, what is your guidance, right, when you're talking to someone who they're having trouble balancing work demands with their own personal well-being and things they need to do for themselves? Sometimes those work demands overflow
Hmm.
into your personal life, which a lot of people deal with.
Yeah.
And then sometimes as Black professionals, we don't feel safe
Hmm.
or empowered to put up boundaries when it comes to work because we feel like we've got a lot to prove.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. One of my favorite professors from undergrad, she used to say the personal is political. So you daring to rest and take a break, you daring to say, my day is done here,
Hmm.
I'm logging off, doing things like that, that helps to create balance in your life. Someone else may look at you as if, oh, you don't really care so much about this work, or you're not really trying to make it big, in this role. But we have to really model self-care as leaders, especially those of us who are in leadership roles. We have to show other people that it's okay to do that. I'm really careful about that in my role, is that I want to make sure that the folks who are in my charge, they see, hey, Donita, she's going to go and take care of this. She'll be back later. She's going to be offline, and that's okay. Donita, you send a message to her at night, she ain't gonna respond to it. I don't want to
Okay.
set that precedence to others that that's what I would just by virtue of that's what I'm doing, so that's what you should do too. So if you see me creating balance in my life, If you see me saying, "Oh, I need to move this meeting because I got to go and get my kid," or I need to take care of this appointment, I'm also giving you permission to do the same thing. I think that's what actually creates this culture within the workspace then that you're not just talking about it, you're being about it.
Yeah. So let me ask you, so you're a black professional, but you're also a
Hmm.
woman, right?
Yeah,
And you have someone you answer to, even though you're a manager.
right,
How did you get yourself into a space where you felt empowered enough to draw those boundaries and set that example because you have somebody else that you're answering to.
right.
And I imagine there's people out there that don't feel like they can because they
Hmm.
feel like there's going to be some sort of professional consequence,
Right.
whether it's damage to their professional brand, not getting a promotion,
Hmm.
those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
Um, I love that you've been able to do it. Was that a process, or how did you get yourself in a space where you felt like you could do that
Yeah.
and still not, have consequences professionally?
Right. As far as answering to people above you, I mean, we have to manage up to. So with the company that I'm employed with, and it's not just my company, it's everywhere, just going through a lot of transformation.
Yeah,
And so with that, there's been some changes and restructuring with executive leadership.
yeah,
And right out the gate, you're just setting that expectation that, hey, this is how I operate. This is what I do. This is how accessible that I am. I'm going to prioritize these things. If, a clinician has this going on, I can't meet. I got to go take care of this.
hmm,
And still building that trust that I mean what I say as well, and showing that I can still get the job done. Um, so that's what I would say about that. Did I answer your question, Jonathan?
yeah. I think you kind of did.
Okay.
And I was also kind of wondering, like, do you have a manager, a boss who has created the psychological safety for you to be able to draw those boundaries and still be comfortable that you can do that?
Yeah, I would say so. And also, I think I'm a very reasonable person, and I think I'm pretty easy to work with too.
Okay.
So perhaps that could be just from the relationships that I cultivate, both up and down,
Yeah.
to where there's just a sense of it's okay to not get everything right all the time. I'm not going to expect my boss not to make any mistakes because it happens.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
So if I'm giving grace to them, they'll extend that same grace to me. Same thing with the folks who are a part of my direct reports. Same
Okay.
thing. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to get things wrong. I'm going to forget that I promised to do this. It happens.
Okay.
But what we're going to do is learn from it, vow to do better the next time. I can't say that it'll never happen again, but just giving yourself permission then to adapt and adjust to whatever it is that's happening in your life. We work to live. We do not live to work.
True. We do have to survive, and some people's livelihood is dependent on keeping that job. So I want to be
Yeah.
respectful of that too. So I do
No,
understand that.
you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. And I mean,
Okay.
but yeah, but thank you for saying that though, because you don't want to lose those folks where they're like, hey, but I can't underperform with this because what I do is like so dependent on what's happening minute by minute. And this is from someone who worked at a call center for a long time as well, where, you're constantly on the phone and everything is happening like minute by minute. And, if you mess up with a client who calls, like you're dealing literally with human lives. That's just the business that I'm in.
Yeah.
So no, I
Yeah.
respect that too. But thank you for spelling that out though.
Yeah. Yeah. It is, and I'm just trying to be respectful of that when I'm in the mind of the listener, right?
Yes.
That is a reality, and I would say if you're in a position where you feel like that the deadlines being required of you in
Hmm.
your professional life are creating that type of tension and anxiety for you, and you're not able to have firm boundaries. One, I would say make sure you're being open and communication wise with your boss, with your
Hmm.
manager as much as you can. If you don't have psychological safety with your supervisor, be clear about what your practices are internally from an HR standpoint. If you feel like you need to go to a one over leader or you need to contact your HR team, or
Hmm.
or if you have a mentor, someone in your
Right.
company outside of your direct reporting line, which I encourage you to do because regardless of what type of manager you have, it's good to have contacts and relationships that are not in your direct reporting line with people who you trust their guidance and trust their counsel.
Yeah.
Having those relationships can pay off for you, especially like if you're not feeling psychologically safe. They can help you learn how to navigate that. They have other relationships they might be able to leverage to help you out. So don't put all your eggs in one basket in terms of being
Hmm.
siloed on your team and not build relationships outside of your direct functional team.
Yeah.
So that's the advice I would give on that, and leverage that so that you can have the safety and have the empowerment to be able to protect your health and well-being to the best of your ability. Now, sometimes the job is just not going to be, the job that's going to allow you to do that. And if that's the case, then maybe you have to look at a pivot. But that starts with you performing and building the skills necessary for you to be able to pivot. Because
Yeah.
if you're not performing, sometimes you don't have the leverage to get the things that you need for yourself and be
Hmm.
able to have that power to set those boundaries and do those things to say, you know what, I've proven myself, I've delivered on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I really need to have this time for my family. I'll make sure I get the job done, but I need to carve this time out for myself. If you've built a reputation, it's easier for you to have that conversation than if you're somebody who hasn't been delivering. That's a
Hmm.
much tougher conversation then.